This particular library that I'm going to show you is called Scribble. It's based off of another one that's called Handy, that was originally created for processing. And as you've all realized, as you've been working with, you know, with P5JS, the things that you draw are really precise, right? Like they're just there they are. They're exactly what they they're pristine. They're computer graphics, right? There's no flaws or human touch to them. So this is an example of a library that tries to make it a little bit more human. Instead of just drawing like really clear lines, it actually makes things look hand drawn when you use them. So you can draw lines, curves, rectangles with rounded corners, ellipses, and then this idea of like a hatcher. It's like a hatch drawing. It's like how you would fill in a rectangle here. So I'm gonna show you real quickly how to use this. Right from the from GitHub, you would go to this particular link right here, and then you can go to the raw file of it and download this file, right? And then this will be the actual thing that you upload into your P5 sketch, right? This p5.scribble.js file. So I'm going to show you how this works. As an example, you can see right here I've got a kind of like sketchy square that's, if I move my mouse over to the left, the lines become less irregular, and if I move them to the right, they become a little bit more, you know, twitchy. I've got a sphere here. You can see I'm just moving, or an ellipse that's just moving up and down, and a line, right? And then there's this sort of like stuff in the middle, the hatch drawing, that's really slowly rotating, just to show you that you can change things over time, right? So you can see here I've uploaded the P5 Scribble JS library. One thing that I realized that when I was working with this is that when you upload this initial dot just kind of like disappears for whatever reason. If you click on here, you can see it says p5.scribble.js. But if you're just going by what appears right here, beware, because if you put that inside of like the script link inside of your index file, it's not going to load, and you're going to be like really frustrated, like, why the shit isn't this working? Which, is how I spent half an hour last night while I was preparing this. So it's just to say, make sure that this name aligns with not the name that's over here, but the name of the actual file itself. That's all. So I've got the file uploaded into my sketch. I'm loading it into my web page right here in the header. And then in the sketch itself, I'll walk you through this, right? So I've got a variable right here, scrib. This is going to hold an instance of the Scribble library, and I'm going to need to refer to this constantly whenever I want to draw something on the screen like this. And then I've got this variable right here for angle, and that's what's slowly rotating here for the hatch drawing inside of there. So the way that the Scribble library works is it's the way in which like this sort of like hand-drawn stuff appears is based off of the random function, and it just runs in the background internally. It's not something you need to call yourself. Now, so this random seed right here, this fixes the algorithm in a particular way. If I were to remove this and run it, you'd see that everything here just becomes like really jittery, like way too much caffeine. And that's because every time we go through the loop, the random seed is being reset into a new number. And so we get like something really wild and varied, right? Which maybe you're looking for. For demo purposes, I wanted to show you something that's a little bit more stable. So the random seed, what it does is it takes a value, and that becomes the thing that sets the the way in which the random algorithm works throughout throughout this the each instance of the sketch, right? So it kind of fixes things in place. So it's random, but it's only random like in the context of when it gets run initially. So it'll kind of mean every time you call random in your sketch after this, you'd get the same values returned. So it's a nice way of introducing randomness, but having some control over it. There's when we want to use this library inside of the setup, we can see right here I'm saying scrib equals new Scribble, right? So this is an instance of the Scribble library. I do this in setup. And then here, what I'm doing right here is this max offset, so scrib.max offset. This is a value that determines just how offset all these lines are from where they would be if they were just a perfect line, right? So I've got this mapped to my mouse right now, which is why it's dynamic. You could just have this set to, like, one fixed thing. If you wanted to have something really, really sort of sketchy, you would put that kind of high, right? If you wanted it to be, you could have it like really high. What this does is it says like how many pixels are whoa, how many pixels are things offset from where they should be, right? So 10 seems to be a very sketchy number. If you move it down to something like 3, it'll be a little bit wavy. It definitely still has a hand-drawn look to it, but it's not like totally out of control. Find something that works for you, right? So we'll stick with this for the time being. Stroke weight and stroke color, you don't need to preface them with anything. So here I'm setting the stroke weight to 3, and then I'm setting the stroke to red, and so this is going to describe this this hatch inside of here. So by default, there's no fill when you're using the Scribble library. Instead, it's just it'll just draw the outline of something. So the rectangle here is just an outline. The ellipse just has the outline. If you want to do some sort of like fill inside of a rectangle, and I haven't figured out how to do this with an ellipse yet, it takes multiple coordinates to fill in the polygon, right? And so you can, I haven't tried doing this arbitrarily. It might be worth something to play around with, but it takes an array of the x coordinates, an array of the y coordinates, the gap between each line, and then the angle at which these are going to be drawn. So here you can see I've got a variable for the x coordinates of the border, right? So width divided by 4. This square right here is like, width, height divided by 2, and it's drawn in the center, right? So width divided by 4 is going to determine like these two x points, and width divided by 4 times 3 is going to determine these two x points, right? Same thing with the y coordinates. Height divided by 4 is going to be this. Height divided by 4 times 3 will be here, and then here, and then here, right? So you can see this is the order in which the points are drawn. This is the gap between lines. So right now it's 5 pixels, and then each stroke is 3 pixels. We could make this a little bit smaller, a little bit larger, right? So we could make this like 10. We could make the gap between them, we can make the gap between them 10, and then we'd see that this seems really sketchy. We could make the the stroke weight a little bit fatter, right? We'll make this 5, and we've got something really kind of chunky like that. And then the angle is just all I'm doing is I'm slowly rotating it, right? You could have this fixed at something, right? So you could say that the angle is going to be, if you wanted it to be like, just at 66 degrees, you could do that. Then it'll just be fixed in one location, right? And then here, this is how we actually fill that, how we draw these like hatches, right? So we say scrib.scribble filling, Then we give the x coordinates, this is an array, and then the y coordinates, this other array that was declared here, the gap between the lines, and then the angle. All right, so again, previously I had the angle rotating, here it's just a fixed thing. Right. Then after that, you can see I've got these blue lines that I'm drawing here. The stroke weight is, in this case, we can make it like, make it like 3, so we can have it stand out a little bit more. There we go. So now it looks like it's drawn with like a felt pen or something. The color is blue, and draw a rectangle. Rectangle works the exact same way, where it's drawn from the, as you normally would, it's drawn from the center point. And so you would call that by saying scribble rect, width divided by 2, height divided by 2, that determines the center point. And then width and height, right? So the width of this is 1/2 of the sketch, and the height of it is 1/2 of the sketch. We could change this to be, make this like more of a rectangle shape. And here you can see like the fill goes outside of the boundaries a little bit. Totally fine. The line here works the same way as a normal line would, where you give it an XY start and an XY end. So here I just have that tied to the mouse, which is how I get it to move across like this. And then the ellipse, works the same way as the rectangle. I just have that mapped to the mouse Y position. There's arguments that you can pass to it that determine just how rough the ellipse is. There's other things in here for drawing arcs, so you could get like a sketchy arc. There's a whole bunch of stuff inside of here that's described on the demo page. It's really lovely. It makes things look hand-drawn. It's also a little bit, fiddly, as you can see, just in terms of like how things get written out. I have a feeling that if you really wanted to sit down and map out the points around an ellipse, you could actually fill it, but by having a whole bunch of different x and y coordinates. But that's an awful lot of work. I'll bet you could figure out how to do that programmatically, though, if you're looking for something to do on a Sunday afternoon. So this is just another example of a library, how it works, what it can do. Poke around, find some libraries, play with them. They're fun. They give you a lot more opportunities to try out different things. Enjoy.